Hey creatives, you are tuned into the Almost Creative Podcast. I'm Travis, and today I am joined with my friend Scott Tillema. You don't know Scott, he is a world-traveling keynote speaker with a background in SWAT negotiation. Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Hey Travis, how's it going today?
I'm doing really well. How are you, Scott?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So as I mentioned, you are a worldwide traveling keynote speaker. So where's somewhere cool you've been recently?
Recently, 2 days ago, I was in Montreal. The week before that, I was in Calgary. 2 months ago, I was in Australia and New Zealand delivering work for a client. Some of my favorite spots, the Swiss Alps, had to spend some time there. Italy, London. It's a pretty cool opportunity
That's
to
awesome.
travel the world.
Has there been a place you've had to travel you did not like?
I like most of the places. Sometimes you don't get the finest hotels. Sometimes it's a little bit rural. Sometimes the weather isn't quite on point.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for all the opportunities.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, if you're tuning in, you know that we kind of cater towards creative entrepreneurs, photographers, videographers, things like that. And you might be wondering, why in the world do we have a hostage negotiator on our episode today? Well, what's cool about Scott, so even though that is your background, of course, you have taken that background, you've tailored it to different industries. We've seen you speak in front of HR, all sorts of different industries like that. And I believe you have a lot of value you could add to creative entrepreneurs because, like myself and many other creative entrepreneurs, we can be introverts, and the things that we struggle with sometimes is conflict resolution, is negotiating, are things like that. And so I thought you could bring a wealth of insight into that. But before we get into your insight, I would love to just hear the background. So tell me, who is Scott? How did he become this world famous keynote speaker that I know today?
Cool. So my background is government work. I spent 20 years in local law enforcement here in the Chicago area. I retired in 2023 to follow my dream of being a professional keynote speaker. And a few years before that, I had co-founded a group called the Negotiations Collective. We're headquartered today in Calgary, along with my business partner, Joanna Shea. And we teach conflict resolution and negotiation. We help people get more and get what they want. And part of my role there is to be out front on stages to attract potential leads and offer value to people who are interested in conflict resolution, influence, and negotiation. And that transition started in 2016 when I was invited to give a TED Talk, which I called The Secrets of Hostage Negotiators at TEDx Naperville. And the organizers had reached out to me and said, we have an idea for a talk. How do you have a conversation with someone who's very different from you? And at first I hesitated, but they said, if it's no good, we won't publish it. But if it's decent, we'll put it up on YouTube for the world to see. And as it got published, a lot of people started watching it, and I would get invitations to speak around my work as a negotiator. So that transition happened in 2023. And I was then a new entrepreneur with a long background in government work. I didn't know how to run a business. I don't know all the things that real professionals know. So like a lot of maybe your younger entrepreneurs in the audience, I'm just getting started. Happy to share some lessons that I've learned.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So tell me, like, what exactly is conflict resolution? Like, how would you explain what that is?
So the world is in conflict right now. It's emotion. People are spilling over with emotion. And there's examples every day in our society of people in conflict that they don't know how to get what they want. And sometimes we get that negative interaction with each other. But what we teach is conflict is not necessarily a bad thing. That's saying that we have different goals, different perspectives, different ideals, and we're trying to achieve something. It's not a bad thing. It means that you have two people who care about something who are trying to get to a certain outcome. And that's what it is. We're trying to get to an outcome, and how do we do that? And why conflict has a negative feeling around it sometimes is because it's not handled properly. And it can devolve into shouting, yelling, or physical violence sometimes. So when we teach conflict resolution, we have a structure around it to say, here's an outcome you're trying to get to, working with another person or group of people, and let's help you get there.
Okay, great. Well, let's take it kind of practical then. So somewhere where I could see conflict happening in our industry is, let's say I'm a videographer, photographer. I do this work for a client. They pay me a certain amount for my time. I do some editing, and then it goes into revision after revision after revision. And there comes a certain point where it's like, okay, they gave me this set amount of money, but now they're kind of maybe going over the contract. Like maybe the contract, it states 2 revisions, and now they've taken 10 revisions or whatever it is. And it can be hard, I feel like, as a creative sometimes to be like, hey, I need more compensation for this, and they're afraid that there is going to be conflict. And like you're kind of saying, it's almost okay to embrace conflict. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but there might be this fear of the conflict. So like, what would you say to someone like if they have almost like a fear to speak up for themselves?
For sure. So first of all, do not apply social norms when we should be applying business norms. This is a business discussion that we're having. And so often we say, I want to protect the relationship. So my conflict style is going to be that of an accommodator or an avoider. I just give you what you want and I avoid the conflict. And you don't come out of that feeling good about what happened. So how about instead of being socially polite when we're just saying yes, please, and giving someone what they want, to apply business norms, to be clear on the agreement, to say, we're coming into this agreement and here's what you're going to get. I'm going to shoot this thing for you and I'll give you 2 revisions on here. First time, we're going to check and make sure that we're good to go. Second time, and that's where the service contract ends. It's okay to come back to them and say, our agreement covered 2 revisions. Now, it sounds like you want additional work, some changes, some fixes. If we go beyond this, here's what extended work would look like, and offer that proposal to them. I'm willing to give you 20 more revisions, but here's what it's going to cost for my time and expertise to get this done in a certain way. I don't see that as unfair to say, yes, I want it a certain way, but it's going to require more work. I'm willing to pay for that. And I think that most respectable people in business are going to understand that you're not working for free. You're not running a charity. And also another mindset shift is the idea of, I don't negotiate for me, I negotiate for we. When you use the word we, who are you thinking about? And it could be your business partner, it could be your employees, it could be your family. So when we're afraid to negotiate for ourselves, think, I'm doing this on behalf of all the people that I serve. So now it's a little bit easier to say, if you're going to take up 2 more days of my time, it's going to require some compensation because that's time away from my kids, my family, my partner, my business, other projects. So it makes us a little bit more courageous to stand up for ourselves when we say, I'm not doing this for myself, I'm doing it for everybody I serve.
That's great. You say something too that kind of struck a chord with me. So when I first started and I was starting to try to understand how to be more of a business owner, it was just me pretty much. Like I didn't really have anyone working for me. And I remember a business owner that was a few years ahead of me said, you have to stop using I, you have to use we. And then I had a client call me out on it one time. They're like, why do you keep saying we? Like it's just you. And the way you explained it makes total sense. And I think we lose track of that, of like, even if we are like we're just a solo person running our business, we're the one doing everything. There's still a we in some capacity because there are your other clients. There's your family, your friends. There's other people who are affected by you running your business. So I think it's very true. Like you should always look at it not just as a I and like, okay, I'll do this because it's just my time, but it's you're affecting everyone that you're kind of influencing.
For sure. And people get that. When I say we're not able to do this, take the context of, you're going to have me out in Utah to deliver a morning keynote. And while you're here, could you do a breakout session in the afternoon because you're already here? And I think it's fair to say, well, we're not able to do that. Well, what do you mean we? Because here's the deal. If I finish the morning keynote at 9:30, I can get to the airport and get back to Chicago. I'm going to get home for dinner, be able to tuck in my kids, ask them how their day was. Now we add on a breakout. I'm already there. Okay, it's not really that much more effort, but see the big picture. Now I'm not able to get home that night, not able to spend the time with my kids, not able to see my spouse. And I think people can understand the impact that it has. Really, it's not much more work. I'm going to be there. Of course, I can talk another 30 minutes on whatever topic, but to allow them to see the impact that it has, I think that opens some eyes and makes them realize, okay, it's fair to request some compensation for this if I'm going to be pulling you away from other obligations.
Yeah. And that's a really good way to look at it because, sometimes we're just, someone will approach us, they want to do a project. They're like, I only have this much. And you could easily just say yes, but you really have to think about the cost of doing that work because especially I see this on the wedding side. Weddings, they're kind of coveted days. Like there's only so many weekends in the year. They're normally going to happen on weekends. So it's like if you give up a September Saturday to like maybe a couple who was under what you would normally charge, now 2 weeks later, you might get a lead from a couple who's willing to pay whatever your price is. And now you've missed out on that opportunity.
That's right. I call them schedule blocks.
Right.
People will always ask for something for free or for discounted. And I like that they're asking.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a great negotiation tactic. But I think it's also important that we're able to say, here's how I handle requests like this. Yeah. I can't commit you to this date at a half price offer. If you want to lock in this date and guarantee my work for this date, here's my fee and here's what's required. Now, if you want to roll the dice, I'm all for it, because from my standpoint, some income is better than no income. But if I accept this at a discounted price and somebody comes in at full fee and say, now I want you for this, I am now losing the opportunity to work with them. So sometimes you can put a contingent negotiation on it to say, I have the ability to cancel this up to 30 days before, because we're now within 30 days. Someone, if they want that date, they're going to book that. So add that contingency. Say, if you want to do this, you have to agree to this, that I can back out by then. Some people are okay with that. Some people are uncomfortable by that, but put the power back to them. And then sometimes they'll come back and say, all right, I want to guarantee you we're able to do this. And sometimes they truly can't, and they take a risk.
Yeah, that's great. You had said something. Did you say there's different conflict resolution styles? Did I catch something like that?
For sure. You have people who are competitors, who I'm just going to win at all costs. People who are collaborators, where how can I win? How can you win? What would drivers of value be for you? And now we're kind of figuring out how we can both get more. People who just avoid it and at no point are going to engage with somebody. They just withdraw. And people who just give and give and give. And I think that we can all have our natural style of engaging in conflict. And I'll share that my natural style is probably that of an accommodator. And I learned this from my parents, who are kind people, not really coming from the entrepreneurial world. They'll give you, ask them something, they're going to say yes and give that to you. So this is how I was raised. So it's okay to say this is my natural style. But when we come to the table, your adjusted style better be a little bit higher up there in the computer or collaboration, because you are running a business to earn some money to support yourself and the people who depend on you. So when it comes time for these discussions, I have to be comfortable saying, this is not acceptable. Here's what we need to make this happen. Or how can we add more value to this? And as a speaker, if I get a reduced offer to speak, I have all kinds of different ways to add value. From the client, I want photographs and video and testimonials and referrals and introductions. I want a LinkedIn recommendation. I want all these different pieces that you can bring to the table that may not cost you a whole lot, that could bring big value to me. So be willing to have something to demand. And maybe we won't use the word demand, but to come to the table and say, here's what would bring value to me. And sometimes that introduction, that referral, that testimonial, these opportunities is actually worth more than what you're actually paying me in cash.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That I think especially when you're getting started, you're basically turning for a lot of us, we're turning a hobby into a career. All of a sudden, now people are giving us money to do this hobby or passion that we have. And now it starts to become, okay, I just need to make money from it. And then you miss the bigger picture of some opportunities that might come along, because there are times where it might be acceptable to take a discount or to take a promotion or whatever it is, but you're getting something in exchange. So whether that is, say, like, let's say you're going to film this event, but it puts you in the room with tons of other people who could also be your clients. Well, maybe it's okay to take a discount, but it's good to disclose that with them so they're aware too, because I've seen some people get into like a slippery thing where like they do it for less, but then they don't really ask for anything in return. So now they're just expected to always do that price. Whereas like, okay, my price is this, and you make it very clear, but I'm willing to do it for this because you're going to put me in this room.
That's great. And number one, I think your point of be willing to ask, that's rule number one of negotiation. My kids who are young, they know rule number one in negotiation is this: if you don't ask for it, you don't get it. So we're teaching them to ask at an early age and be comfortable advocating for themselves and asking for more. And how many people are just afraid to ask? What are you afraid of? We're afraid that someone's going to tell us no. That's the beginning of the conversation. That's not the end. And I would challenge these folks to say, I want you to show up to the table and be willing to say, and I can do this for you at a 10% discount if you would be willing to agree to a couple other things that could add value for me. Who's teaching to negotiate for less in value? It's not less in value. It might be less in financial compensation, but if I can get an on-camera testimonial, if I can get a Google review, if you could introduce me to somebody like you who needs my services, does that just increase your bottom line? For sure it does. For sure it does. Hey, do you have anybody out there you could introduce me to? And this doesn't cost me anything to say, hey, my guy Travis, he does a great job. He's recorded me on a variety of stages, put together a banger sizzle reel for me. This is who you should be working with. And do a good job, like at his foundation. Have a good product so people want to refer you, but don't be afraid to ask for that, because so many people don't think, well, I want to leave you a Google review. Well, I don't think about that, but if you reach out, hey, to my clients, we're looking to level up on Google here a little bit. Would you leave a testimonial or a review for us? It doesn't cost me anything. Of course I'll do that.
Yeah, I've even used that sometimes too. So like, for example, we just worked with the guy who's in the trades, and we had a set rate, we did a shoot, we edited the stuff, and then he had one person leave and then they got replaced with someone else. So he's like, oh, I really would rather have the new person in the video and not the old person. And I could have charged him, and I was going to charge him. And then I started thinking, okay, I have him, he has like 10 other people on staff, and they all have like Google accounts. So it's like, I should just ask him to have all of them leave me Google reviews and just spread them out. And to me, that was much more value than like, making a couple $100 for an hour work or whatever. It's like, I'd rather just have those Google reviews, because again, that's going to just boost my SEO, get me in front of more people just like them, and then result to hopefully another large project like theirs, instead of just making like a couple $100. So
that's it.
Yeah.
And then maybe have the value adds as well.
Right.
When someone says, well, I'm not sure that we can pay that price. I respect that, because maybe you don't feel you're getting the proper value for this. Here's what else we can add on to maybe help the decision maker say yes. Yeah. So in addition to what we're offering, if I was able to offer this, this, and this, and whatever that looks like for the entrepreneurs out there, that little something extra, how easy is it then to say yes?
Yeah, definitely. I know that's even worked on me, like you're looking at a car or whatever, and then they're like, well, you know what, we'll throw in we'll do the upgrade or whatever to the next model or whatever. And it's like, all right, I'm already to this far, like if it's going to be the same price, let's just do it, and it works,
Right. That little something extra, because people want to feel like they've won.
Right.
And it's tough to say yes and give your best when you feel like you've lost in the negotiation. So remember, we're dealing with people. And as much as I am a professional negotiator, a lot of times I don't negotiate down prices when I'm receiving a service from people, because I want them to come in and feel good about it and do their very best. And that way, if I do ask for something along the way, they're going to remember that I wasn't negotiating them down to the lowest dollar. Hey, I'm coming in paying full price. And I might even ask for that up front to say, I'm happy to pay full price, but I'm hopeful that you'll give me everything you can to make sure that this is just right, because I want to respect you and your work and not negotiate you down.
Yeah, awesome. Where do you think the negotiation starts? Like, is this like first email, we're already negotiating? Is it like once you're on the sales call? Is it at the end of the sales call? Like, where do you feel like negotiation starts in the process?
Your negotiation has already begun.
Yeah.
If I can find anything about you, your negotiation has begun, because I'm assessing your value right now. I am on your Instagram account and your LinkedIn and on your webpage, and I'm deciding what value do you bring. And so many people think, well, I haven't put down the price yet. I can tell you what your price should be, because I'm comparing what I see and the value you have versus other people like you. I was having a conversation this morning with a speaker who was saying, well, I did an event for $15,000, so I'm just going to say my fee is $15,000. I said, of course you can do that. But I am now going to pull up other speakers who are charging $15,000 a keynote. I'm going to look at their assets. I'm going to look at their video, their website, their reviews, and say, this person is not even in that same ballpark. So the problem is, we just look in the mirror and say, here's what my value is. Hey, I'm comparing it to everybody else. So your negotiation has already begun before you get to the table, if I can assess what value do you bring. And if I can't see that, you're already in trouble, because your competitors out there are showing what value they bring. So from the minute we start the conversation, we are in negotiation. Do you want something from this person? That's a negotiation. And sometimes we might not know what that looks like, or we might not know what we want. But I think good networking, we're always assessing, could this person be valuable to me? Does that relationship matter? I want to build that relationship, not to say it's manipulative, but people see there's value in you, and how can I use that to my advantage?
Yeah. Do you think, are there certain things that like a business owner or creative should be holding back? Like, so you were kind of mentioning like you almost want to have a presence online and stuff because the negotiations already began. They're comparing your Instagram page with this person's Instagram page and your website with this website. But is there certain information you should hold back for, say, like a phone call?
For sure. And I don't think that you should ever put everything on the table, because there are people who are going to clean your clock. They're going to take you for everything you're worth. So maybe you say, well, here's my regular price, here's a discounted price, but I'll absolutely do it for this, but no less than this. Yeah. Well, it turns out my budget is exactly that lowest number that you just said every time. So I think it's important to get somebody on the call. How can I bring them into the call? So for me on my website, I don't advertise what my Keynote speaking fee is on my website or what our classes, our full day classes for Negotiations Collective. We don't put the price on the website because we want to have that conversation. You have to start that conversation. And let's move it off of email. Sit down face to face if you can. Have the Zoom, have the phone call, and start to allow them to feel comfortable with you. Because really, they're assessing risk. Are you risky? If I spend this much money, am I going to get a garbage product? When maybe that's photos, maybe that's a video, maybe it's whatever it is your creatives are doing out there. Is the product going to be worth it? And we don't make decisions on logic and reason. We make decisions based on emotion. So how do I feel with you? And if I can get on a call and I feel comfortable and you have credibility and you have some expertise, now I'm getting much closer to yes than I was when you are just a website. Now you're a real person who can bring real value, and I get to assess, do you care about me? Are you going to value me? And if I feel valued now, I'm going to feel valued through your work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like within my own business too. Like we get the people who call and they're demanding a price, and it's like, okay, here's a price, But with what we do, it's so custom made most of the time. It's like I really need to hear, it's two things. One, it's a sales tactic in a way, but two, I really do just need to hear what they want and what they value because, especially when you're talking about something where they're very emotionally attached to it, like a wedding, it's like what is important to this bride could be very different than this other bride. And I really need to hear what they want and what they value before I can even really give them a price. And once I've heard all that and we're comfortable with each other, then the price, it's very different when they hear the price. Like if they hear the price from the beginning, now that's all they're kind of thinking about. And they're kind of comparing me to this person, that person. If we've talked and we've related and we've connected, now the price is just like, okay, this is the experience you want and you like the feeling you had on this call. This is just what it will cost versus like, this is what it costs. And now you're trying to like catch up and like get to that point. So.
And there's something special about being heard. Yeah. People want to share their story. Don't come into the call and do all the talking. Ask the questions. Your power in negotiation comes from information and options. That's your power. So how can I offer a proper proposal to somebody if I don't know what they want? And here's the fun thing about negotiation. I've learned that so many people that I've had negotiations with are not clear on what it is they want. So it's okay to ask people, what do you really want here? What's most important to you in this final product? And now we're starting to explore that, and they may not have ever considered this themselves. And if they can now believe that you are the person who can deliver exactly what they want, it's so easy to say yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always have to put myself in the mindset too, especially with the weddings. I always like before the call, I put myself in the mindset of that bride, which to me, it's like, I do this all the time. It should be common sense. This is their first time typically ever doing this. So you almost have to start over every time because just because, this last bride booked, say like a $6,000 package, it doesn't mean this one sees the value in that yet. So it's like, I have to basically start over every time and be like, okay, I'm coming into this. This is new to them. I need to find out what they're looking for. I need to ask questions. I need to listen to them and then hopefully help educate them to get to that point.
That's right. And be the generous expert. Let me show you the questions that other people have had. Let me show you how this has worked in the past. Because for sure, it might be their first time. And let them feel, hey, you're not alone. You're not stupid. You're not being judged here. Let me be your trusted coach to work with you as a partner to help you achieve the things you want to achieve. I expect there's going to be drone photography because I saw that on the internet. I saw it on Instagram. Yeah. Oh, what do you mean that's extra? I thought that's just what everybody does. Well, no, not everybody's a certified drone operator or however it might be.
Yeah.
So to have these conversations to say, what are your expectations and how can I meet or exceed them? That's such an important piece of that negotiation.
Yeah. So when you were doing the high stakes negotiation work, how much of what you were doing was asking questions and how much of it was responding to them?
Yeah, so much of this is around active listening. And I was trained by the FBI in 2007. And the FBI teaches 8 skills of active listening. So if I could challenge people to say, you want to be better at negotiating, you want to be better at communicating and connecting with someone else, learn the skills of active listening. And part of that, one of them is asking open-ended questions. And I believe if we want influence, influence begins with connection. But if we want connection, connection begins with dialogue. And how do we create a dialogue? Through open-ended questions, by asking and engaging questions that's going to stimulate the conversation. But we also have to respect that we can't just come in and have one technique and ask somebody questions. I was a detective for 5.5 years. I've learned that people don't like to be asked questions over and over and over. That's the definition of an interrogation. People don't like that. So we have to be willing to mix it up and know that, sometimes I need to use silence. Sometimes paraphrasing, sometimes a summary, maybe an emotion label. And when you get good at understanding these different skills of listening, now we can really make it about that. And at first it might be clunky, all right? This is something that I know, I read it in a book or I saw it on the internet, and we're moving it to, this is now a skill that I have. That's a nice next step. So now I know what it is, but I can do it. But if we're really looking at being great at it, we're going to practice this for months and years. And this now then becomes who you are. And when this is who you are, that you're such a good listener, you can be very present with somebody else. And then you can pick up on the little things that are separating you from all the amateurs. You can see the body language. You can see the shift. You can see that little bit of discomfort and really connect on that. And being a great listener is foundational to, I think, human connection, but certainly to being a powerful negotiator.
Yeah. How does someone get started with that? Because I'm sure it could be really wonky. I'll give you an example. So when I was really trying to evolve, I had gotten a coach, mostly focused on the sales side, and I had them listen to my calls, and I thought I would do fine, but I really was just winging it. I'm just talking, blah, 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 like just kind of winging it. And they're like, Travis, you're talking like 80% of this call. Like, that's way too much. Like, you need to shut up, and get out of your own way. And so I had developed a script with them, and it was so awkward. But then as I kind of did it a few times and did the reps, then it just became naturally who I am on the sales call. Now I don't have the script because I just have it memorized of like, when they say this, I'm going to ask about this and that kind of stuff. So like, how do you get to that point? Because I know a lot of times we just get comfortable with what we already do, but we really do need to almost like reshift the way we're doing a sales call.
For sure. So let's acknowledge that maybe we're not great communicators. And we all believe because we do it all the time, because I'm talking, because I'm listening, I'm good at it or I'm competent at it. And at some level, you probably are. But if we want to take this to the next level and be expert level at negotiation, we have to understand how good are we to start. So ask somebody, start off by asking people in your circle, under stress, under pressure, how do I communicate? There's people out there that want to give you some feedback on this. Perfect. So let's take that in. And then let's understand what some listening techniques might be and then practice it. And so many people give up. Well, it felt weird. And we do this in our classes, in our full day classes. We'll do one-to-one exercise and people say, well, that didn't feel good. Of course, it's your first time doing it. So we're going to practice this. And where I challenge people, and you're going to have this opportunity all day, every day, you are getting spam phone calls. And I know I am, so I know everybody out there is as well. 7, 8 of these a day, the most annoying things in the world. Here's the deal. For the next week, you are not allowed to miss a phone call. Every time that phone rings, you are going to answer it. And you know this person is going to scam you. They want your credit card information. Your granddaughter's in jail somewhere. Hey, there's an emergency. You didn't pay your taxes. Your car insurance is going to expire. Whatever scam it is, we are going to play the game. And you are not allowed to hang up that phone until you get through the 8 skills of active listening. So we're going to go through minimal encouragers. Okay. We're going to ask open-ended questions. We're going to do reflecting or mirroring. We're going to throw in the emotion label, the paraphrase, the iMessage, the silence, the summaries. And once you get through all 8, you're allowed to hang up that phone call. And you're going to practice because this doesn't mean anything. And you know this person is scamming you and they're not going to hang up.
Don't give them your credit card.
Don't actually give them your credit card.
Because they might be good at negotiating and they might win you over.
Right. You get lost in it. Yeah, here's the actual number. but we're going to practice. They're not going to hang up on you. They're going to say, hey, we got a real sucker on the line that's playing the game. But you're going to practice these skills. And then you're going to practice them with people who matter in your lives. And if you ever get called out, well, that sounds like a technique, or I heard about this. I think it's pretty fair to say I've been trained, or I've been practicing on advanced skills of listening. And this is an important conversation for me. So out of respect to you, I'm coming in with my very best techniques that I think are going to get us the best outcome here. And I think that's a pretty meaningful thing for someone to hear. Hey, you're not just showing up and going off the cuff. Yeah, oh yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. All right, so tell me more about this. You sound frustrated when you say that. And you're going to feel the connection. And I will assure you, I have never worked with somebody in a class or coaching or however I interface with somebody around being a better listener, about being a stronger communicator. And I've had them come back to me and say, you know what? I've tried it and people don't like it. They don't like that I listen to them. They don't like that we're connecting more deeply. That's never happened. People will notice the difference. They might not be able to figure out what it is. They're going to feel you. They're going to feel how they experience you so differently. And I think that if we have stronger dialogue, it leads to stronger connection. Stronger connection leads to more influence. And I think that's ultimately where most business owners want to go.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to focus in on one of the 8, and that's silence. I know that was always a struggle for me, of this fear of like, oh, no one's talking on the call. Like, what did I say? Did I do something awkward? Like, I'd love for you to talk about that a little bit more, and kind of getting over that hurdle of like just accepting that silence can be okay.
For sure. Silence it's more than okay. This is a big piece of winning this negotiation and getting a good outcome. There are trainers out there to say, you're going to put your offer on the table. Here's the price. And we're now playing a fun game. And the fun game goes like this. The person who talks next loses. And I don't know if there's a lot of study to back this up, but I like the idea. Here is the fee. You want me to come and be your keynote speaker at your next event? The fee is $10,000. And are we comfortable in silence? And people are uncomfortable in silence. And so what happens when there's silence? 2 things are going to happen. Number one, we want to fill that silence. So when you're sitting one-on-one with someone and it gets quiet, there's going to be the need to fill that in. And you can't be the person to fill that in. Why? Because your power in negotiation is information and options. You don't get that if you're talking. Allow them to speak. So they're going to respond next. But if I now come in and start justifying that number, it's going to feel weak. If I come in next and be like, oh, you didn't say yes, so let me start discounting that number, you're going to lose out on opportunity to create value. Put this on the table and be quiet about it. So number one, that person's going to fill it in. But if you have a big pause here, you can really draw in someone's attention. And I think that you can deliver a message powerfully once you have people's attention. Politicians have this figured out so well that they'll come up to the microphone and they'll hold. And once we have attention, then we can deliver something very powerfully. So don't be afraid of silence. This is not a bad thing. Be comfortable. But where I also coach on silence is do it with the proper nonverbals. Because what we see is more powerful than what we hear. So I'll say to you, so Travis, what do you think about this? And I'm going to go quiet here. And it's very different if I say, Travis, what do you think about this? Yeah. That's a nonverbal saying, it's your turn. I'm inviting you into the conversation versus, Travis, what do you think about this? A little bit more intimidating, or what do you think about this? So we're going to add silence with the proper nonverbals and invite that person into conversation.
Yeah. Especially, I think that when you get to the point of the price, like they're probably thinking it over too. So I know before I was kind of trained on this stuff, like I would put my foot in my mouth immediately. Like I was like, the price is this, but we can also do, and I would, and it's like, and then they'd be like, oh no, we were okay with that, but we would like to hear the other options now. And it's like, I shouldn't even have said anything. Like they were okay with it. Like I should have just and like you were saying, I think it loses the value, because if you say the price and you're holding firm to the price it's the price. Like they know that this is the value, this is what it costs. But as soon as you start adding extra words or interrupt the silence, now you're lessening what that price or what that value is. So then they think you're not confident in your price almost.
That's it.
Yeah.
And know your worth.
Yeah.
This is the price and this is why I charge that. And you don't have to justify this is why I charge it, but think of this. And it's so incredible how the psychology is different between a service and a product. I'm going to go into Woodfield Mall and go into the Apple store, and they're selling iPhones right now for $1,300. I'm going to show up and say, I've got $400. I want this iPhone. Good luck. like it's laughable.
Yeah.
The people in the store are going to turn and laugh and be like, what's with this guy?
They're going to be like, go to the back alley. There might be a guy selling some stolen.
Right. You can find some garbage somewhere else. It won't even be entertained.
Yeah.
Well, I've got $1,100. Will you take $1,100? This is the price. Right. And it's understood. But with services, people see it differently because you can do this for free. You can do this for double. You get to decide how much. Right. This is the value. And I don't need to explain or justify what this is. But if we're strong on that and we say, I know this is why I'm charging, what I'm charging, you have the confidence. And they're going to then maybe subtly believe that, all right, he has this value. So don't cut yourself short. Don't feel the need to justify. Don't feel the need to discount. Think of it as a product. This is what the product costs. You either have the money or you don't. Yeah. And if you don't, well, let's have a discussion on how we can get to yes. Yeah. What other value can I add maybe to help you say yes to the number? But we don't need to discount it. Yeah. And we're afraid because someone didn't say yes to me right away that I've somehow failed. Yeah. And I think that we really create connection in these moments of silence. When I've negotiated with people who are in crisis, we have to understand they need time to process this, that they may be in a crisis mode. They just have to get a little bit more centered in their emotion before they can really think this through and come up with an answer. Yeah. So be polite and don't rush them. I just need some time to consider this and think about it. So I think it's actually very kind to give them the space and give them the quiet to consider this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Even an example of that. So I'm talking to a planner right now that we've worked with before, and the couple, they were considering another company first, and then they started asking their planner because of the experience they had with this company where it was a scheduled call. They had 15 minutes. It was very just like, here's the information. This is what we do. This is what we do. And the couple would try to ask a question. They're like, oh, no, like we don't answer that like on these calls, and like just kind of rushing them through. And immediately they had a terrible experience. So now they want another option because they're like, there's no way this is like it, like there's got to be a better option than that. And so I think that rush and just like, again, going back to what we're talking about, like this is their first time a lot of times. And even like commercial clients the same way, like they probably have never done a video before for their business. So it's like, this is their first time. So you have to put yourself in their shoes and their mindset, and they might be frazzled. And, a lot of times, like we're not even talking to the owner. We're talking to like the social media manager or whoever. And she has no idea. She's just like, her boss told her to do this thing. So now she's doing these phone calls with all these people and she's freaking out kind of, because she's like, my boss wants me to find a videographer. I don't know what I'm doing. So just to come in there and be that comfort for them and just to hear them out and then to be able to give them educated advice on what they should do, I think it's huge. I want to have a little fun. So you probably have a pretty crazy history of just experiences you've been in with negotiating. I would love to just hear one of like your craziest experiences. It could be funny, it could be serious, whatever you want to share. It could be one I've heard at one of your keynotes. That's fine too.
I mean, we've heard, we've been through so many situations. Yeah. And, I want to be sensitive to your listeners that a bad day in the office for police officers or SWAT team or hostage negotiators is very different than a bad day in the office for your salesperson. So without getting too graphic into any of this, let me offer this. If somebody wants to hear a few stories, and they'll get to decide, on my TED Talk on YouTube, The Secrets of Hostage Negotiators, I lead with a couple stories, some stories that went well, some stories that didn't go well. But let me just say broadly, to be sensitive to all involved, that not all of our negotiations have good outcomes. And the same principle applies in the business world. We're afraid in business we're going to lose a contract, we're going to lose a deal. All right. Yeah, and that's discouraging and that's disappointing. But contrast that to what a bad outcome would look like for a SWAT hostage negotiator, for someone who might be threatening violence with knives, with a gun, who may be holding a hostage. And these are crazy stories, and stories that most people wouldn't believe. And I want to, maybe not share that. I don't want to be insensitive to people who have had a variety of experiences. But we've seen things that are wildly funny. Like we can't believe this is happening. There was a guy, he was trying to take down the power lines outside of his house with chains. I was like, man, he's going to get himself killed. So like we're trying to have a conversation and say, I'm really concerned for you. Like, this is really in your best interest. Yeah. I don't think this is a good idea. Yeah. To a guy who went up on the roof and he pulled out a knife and pulled out a stick of summer sausage and just sat up on the roof and he started having some lunch. And we're like, what is going on here? Right. Like, we can't believe what's going on. To the very, very serious, to a man who took a woman hostage. And when police came to the house, mom called 911 because he was holding this woman hostage. He starts shooting in the house, and mom and her friend had to get out of there. And as he's holding this woman hostage, police come in and he shoots the police officer right through the cheek, right through the neck. Very scary. Now he's holding this woman hostage in the basement. So we've dealt with the most extreme of negotiations. And I think that it's important for all of us to be able to say, they're not always going to end up the way we want them to end up. But realize that with another person involved, we can't control that other person. And they have some say in how this goes. And if it doesn't go like it's supposed to, it's not because you are uneducated, not because you were unprepared, not because you were inexperienced. You've done everything you could to make sure this ends up in a good outcome. It's really, really powerful to be able to say, they made that decision and it's beyond my control.
Yeah. And sometimes maybe it was the better outcome. Like maybe that you weren't meant to have that client. Maybe it would have been a bad experience. You have to always kind of think of it that way of like losing this opportunity might open the door for a different opportunity.
For sure. And there will be others. Yeah. There will always be others. So don't be needy. Don't be desperate. No, if I'm doing the right thing, having a good product, figuring out how I'm going to market this and share this with the world, you're going to be in a good spot. There's always going to be the next time.
So one thing you were mentioning earlier in a negotiation or conflict resolution is there's also the body language. It's not just what you're saying or how you're saying it. It's also the way, you do this or you do this, you do this. So I would love for you to just talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, body language is an important piece, and so many people miss this. And we use it in one of two ways. We use it offensively, how I'm using my body language in communicating, but also defensively, I'm paying attention to what's in front of me. And people who can't manage themselves first and are so stuck in, all right, here's what I need to say, and they're missing information in front of them. So if you want to be expert level body language, my guy is Joe Navarro and the FBI. Like, that's who I look up to and say, this is somebody who really knows his stuff. He's got a great TED Talk, his book, What Everybody is Saying. Great one. Check him out. During COVID, 4 guys came together and they called themselves the Behavior Panel up on YouTube. I think they got 1 million subscribers. Great analysts. They break down pop culture video and references, really entertaining, expert level stuff. And I was a detective for 5.5 years, so I think I have a read on some of this. But these guys, they're watching pupil dilation. They're studying your blink rate. They're next level. So if you're into body language, that's a couple resources to check out. But for the rest of us who are just kind of paying attention at a very surface level, 2 things to consider. Number 1, clusters of behavior. So many people saw Instagram, ooh, he looked up to the left, that must be a lie. I don't know if that's super reliable, but if we have clusters of behavior where I can see his hands like this, which generally shows a pretty open and honest, I have nothing to hide and my palms are up, generally regarded as honest. If I'm exposing my vital organs here, oftentimes very comfortable because we protect ourselves, we go into a pose like that. Somebody who might be exposing their neck like that, that's a very comfortable position. When I see somebody move to this and protect their neck, that's a very defensive posture. I want to know what was just done or said that might have caused some anxiety. So if I put all of these together, here's a cluster of behavior. This person actually looks pretty comfortable here. And also, not just clusters of behavior, but now we also want to look for changes from baseline behavior. For 40 minutes, we've been sitting here, we've been having a conversation, and this is generally what I'm seeing. And now all of a sudden we move to a posture that I haven't seen. People see the arms folded, oh, that's closed off. But the experts say, yeah, it could be, but it could be, you know what? It's freezing in here. I'm just cold. It might be a position of thought. It might be, I've worn a duty belt for 20 years and my arms don't go down to the side, so I'm actually pretty comfortable like this. So if we see a change from baseline behavior, it's really an opportunity to be curious and ask more questions. So we're not going to jump to conclusions. It's going to allow us to be curious, to say to myself, I'm seeing something I haven't seen before. I wonder if there's something going on that they're holding back. And one other pro tip on body language, do not ever tell someone that you are reading their body language. And I have for sure had a colleague tell me, oh, I saw that you uncrossed your legs. You must be uncomfortable with this. Like, they're telling me what I'm thinking. So number one, it's offensive. Like, we're like, this is private. You're not allowed to be in my brain. Get out of my brain. And number two, it's a real tactical disadvantage. Because if you tell me, Scott, I'm reading your body language and I know what you're thinking, that's cool, because I'm going to start to do things that you've never seen before. And you can't Google it fast enough. What does it mean when his head goes side to side like this and he starts doing the loop-de-loop and he's snapping his finger? You're like, I can't keep up. I am going to mess with you until the end of time because I know you're reading my body language and I'm doing things that I don't know what this means anymore. So you're going to lose the advantage of any insight you thought you had because now I'm just going to do stuff that's going to mess with you.
So basically what you're saying, next time I do a video call, I should look like this the whole time. Just talk to them like this. And they'll be totally comfortable with me.
Totally comfortable. I don't see what would be awkward with this. What's with this guy? I listened to Scott's podcast and he said I should sit like this and hold that position for at least 15 minutes.
Right.
That'll be even more powerful.
And just be very quiet.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know who this guy is, but he's not getting my business.
Awesome. No, this was great, Scott. I appreciate you being on the podcast. I think you shared a wealth of knowledge that I really appreciate. If anyone wants to keep up with what you're doing, where can they find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn. That's my primary social media platform. If you're on LinkedIn, let's make sure we connect. ScottTillema.com is my speaker website. Negotiationscollective.com is your center for all things training around conflict resolution, negotiations. But most importantly, for the friends local here in the Chicago area, come find me. Occasionally, I'm actually home in the Chicago area. Would love to connect in person.
Thank you again for being with us, Scott. I appreciate your time. And until next time, stay creative.